Oh, hi. My name is Marley Pfeiffer. Happy International Nature Journaling Week. I'm going to be talking about nature journaling and movement. Nature journaling is about sitting still in nature and observing non-moving things and freezing them onto our still pages, right? Because there's not really that much movement in nature anyways, is there? So why is movement so slippery and so scarce in our pages and in our practice? So if there's movement in nature, why is there so little movement in our nature journaling? Like, even that flower is moving. I wonder if movement is like touch and smell. It's harder to write down or draw in our journals, so it gets left out for that reason alone, not because it's less important to the way we relate to nature or what is actually happening in nature. But before I say any more, I want to point out that not everybody has the body and the mobility to get out and crawl around on the ground or run barefoot on the rocks in the intertidal zone like I do. And I try not to take that mobility that I have for granted. Also, I want to point out that not everybody has access to natural places like this. And even though it should be a right for humans to be able to access and move around in the outdoors, it's actually a privilege right now. And not everybody has access to natural places like that. As I look through my pages right now, I'm not noticing very many moving subjects in nature that I have drawn. So why is that? Is it because there's not very many moving animals that I've been looking at? Here's about one of the only examples is these moving birds right here. Is it because there actually haven't been that thing? Here's another moving one. And here's a little bit of movement here too. So I haven't included that much movement in my journal, and I think there's some major challenges to it. But moving forward, I do want to incorporate more movement in nature because things in nature are moving all the time. There's an example of how some gesture sketches can be a way to show movement. Here you can see the seagull has moved its wing. So capturing faster drawings is one way, and using arrows is another way. The other thing you can do is you can use your words to describe the movements that you saw. So those are a couple tips for trying to incorporate more movement into your drawings and into your words, because you can describe the movement with your words. So like I said, I don't have as much movement as I would like to see in my nature journal, and I'm going to work on that more, and so can you, because there's a lot of movement out there in nature. Sometimes when we open our nature journal, we close another part of our mind. We close off languages that we were fluent in as kids. And I think moving around in nature is one of those languages and one of those ways that we connected to nature as a kid and that we can bring back. When we get out paper and pen, certain parts of our brain sit down at attention at a desk, and it's like when we were in school. And I think that we shut off the way that our entire body interacts with nature, and that is the way that our bodies have been interacting with nature for thousands of years. So if all we're doing is sitting in one place and just stuck in our verbal and visual parts of our mind, drawing and writing things about nature, that is really cool. But I think that being intentional about other ways that we can mix in, because we're a whole body organism, other ways that we can mix in a little bit of movement or variation in movement in any way, I think that will benefit our nature journaling and make it more of a holistic experience. And you don't have to go on a crazy hike to do what I'm talking about. That's not the only way to do this. There's so many ways you can do this even at home, and just remembering that you are part of a whole body that interacts with the world in a lot more ways than just looking at it through your close focus binoculars and drawing it. Finally, I think that movement has a completely practical application for nature journaling. Everybody else does warm-ups before they do their thing. Runners do warm-ups, singers do warm-ups. Nature journalers should be doing warm-ups too. There's things you could be doing with your hand. Use your non-dominant hand for something. Get some variation of movement in. You can look up tons of wrist exercises, but you could probably just make some up on your own. How often do you move your hands in these other ways, or are you just like this the whole time? I know I am. And I know that I get really tensed up like this when I'm nature journaling, and my shoulders will be shrugged over like this. So do something to vary your shoulder movement and your neck movement, and just try to think about all of these other things that your body can do with movement instead of just being like this all the time. And then the final one, for those of you who are out in the field and want to do more extreme nature journaling like I do, practice ways of getting up and down from the ground. How is your balance? Can you squat? Can you nature journal while you're squatting? So here are some of the exercises that I like to do. I like to get up and down from the ground like this while holding my nature journal the whole time, and practice different ways of balancing. Can you nature journal standing up? Can you nature journal like this? Like this? How do you hold your journal? Practice some of these movements of getting up and down from the ground, maybe with one leg, like a pistol squat. A little bit of those balance exercises, practicing walking around, holding your nature journal out. Practice bringing your case around, getting your supplies out. Practice doing all of those things in squatting positions or in awkward positions like balanced on rocks. Those are the ways that you can build up to more extreme nature journaling like I do. And so those are some ways to use movement practically. And at the very least, if you're at home, do some hand exercises. Try to get your body moving in a variety of ways, because I think that is a major gap in our nature journaling practice and on our nature journaling pages. Enjoy the rest of Nature Journaling Week.